In the headlines tonight,
one suspected case of viral hemorrhagic fever.
Ministry of Health confirms outbreak of deadly Ebola disease. One person confirmed dead. Nomination of Iyala candidates finally comes to an end. Almost 30 contestants join race.
So we want to normalize big, so that people know that yes, it can be small, it can also be big.
Also, ministers led by Kadaga back controversial beauty pageant, plus-size women to contest after 3-year hiatus. And in sports, under 23 national team, the Uganda Cobs to face Libya tomorrow in Benghazi. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on PM Edition tonight. My name is Agi Oase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Kick-starting off tonight's edition, the Ministry of Health has confirmed the outbreak of Ebola virus in Uganda. According to the ministry, a 24-year-old man from Mubende district has been confirmed to have died of the disease. 6 more suspected cases are still under investigation by the Center for Disease Control. Here are the details.
The Ebola virus is one of the most dangerous diseases in the world, known to cause severe bleeding, organ failure, eventually leading to death. While addressing journalists today at the Ministry of Health headquarters, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Diane Atwine, confirmed the outbreak of Ebola in Mubende district, which is found in western Uganda.
On the 15th of September 2022, one suspected case of viral hemorrhagic fever was identified and isolated in Mubende Regional Referral Hospital. The patient was a 24-year-old male who lived in Ngabano village of Madudu sub-county in Mubende district. He was a referral from St. John's Medical Clinic in East Division of Mubende municipality, where he had just been referred on that day.
According to Dr. Diana Twine, authorities from the Ministry of Health are probing other 6 suspicious deaths this month. The deaths in question have also taken place in Mubende district as well.
Only one confirmed death. The rest were community deaths, which were in the cluster of one same family. And since they were buried, we cannot say these were confirmed. As Commissioner Allen said, it is suspected, because this particular confirmed case was part of that family. And so we have high suspicion that most likely but we cannot say they are confirmed.
Dr. Baya Fatumbi from the World Health Organization has advised members of the public to practice prevention and countermeasures because there are no vaccines.
Done something before in DRC, but we find that the ring vaccination that worked with the Zaire virus will not be useful for this particular Sudan strain. But there's another type of vaccine, Johnson & Johnson, that is being tested currently and see whether it will be useful for this particular strain. But prevention, like the Permanent Secretary mentioned, is better than cure.
Health workers have also been urged to have the highest index of suspicion and to also maintain heightened safety precautions.
For any suspected case, we encourage the public to call on our toll-free. I want to share this toll-free. It is 0800 1000 66.
Ebola symptoms start to show 2 to 21 days after contact with the virus, with an average of 8 to 10 days. The cause of the illness typically progresses from dry symptoms such as fever, aches, pains, and fatigue, and then progresses to wet symptoms such as diarrhea and vomiting. According to the Center for Disease Control, the Ebola virus was discovered in 1976 near the Ebola River in DRC Congo. Martha Amanya, CTV, PM Edition.
Parliament has today concluded nominations of the candidates contesting for the East African Legislative Assembly, EALA. The two-day nominations have seen 28 candidates come out to officially contest for the 9 EALA seats. Let's take a look.
The nomination committee chaired by Adolf Mwesije today registered more candidates to contest for the East African Legislative Assembly seats. Among the candidates nominated today are the 6 NRM party flag bearer who were in company of the NRM Electoral Commission boss, Dr. Tango Doi, and Government Chief Whip, Dennis Hamson Obua, Uganda People's Congress candidate Fred Ebil, Democratic Party's Gerald Slander, and Forum for Democratic Change's Harold Kaija, and other independent candidates. The NRM candidates who were nominated today are Rose Akol, James Kakoza, Mary Mujeni, Paul Musamali, Dennis Namara, and George Odong, who are going back for the second term.
It is my pleasure and privilege to declare you duly nominated candidate for the EALA election.
The candidate from the People Progressive Party, Jelmaya Kamlali Burunji, did not appear despite having paid the 3 million shillings nomination fee. Some of the nominated candidates had this to say on the matter.
Areas that we need to go and work on. Given our experience, we are in a better position to advocate, push, lobby, network, and achieve those pillars of integration.
The community is premised on people-centeredness and not yet actively participating and are therefore not shaping the agenda of the community. And I think that is a missing link and a very, very essential part of our integration.
The opposition candidates have assured they will debate the issues of regional integration if voted so that Ugandans can benefit from the common market.
We, as a DP, come to the East African Legislative Assembly with a background of dialogue and negotiations. East African community is about discussion, is about engagement, is about dialogue.
The East African community was created to make sure that we get opportunities for the people of Uganda. But currently, when the people of Uganda even try to cross to other countries, you see how they are treated. Our products cannot be accepted in Kenya, are blocked as they go to Tanzania. Ugandans who have lost business in Sudan, even here, come here to Parliament.
To look at the issues, why do we find still some countries putting trade barriers, yet there is a custom union in place? So we need to perfect the custom union and make it work for all of us as East Africans.
The independent candidates nominated today also shared their sentiments.
We need them to realize at the border post, all these states to cooperate. There has been lack of cooperation in all these states. Where Uganda is very good, Southern Sudan you have to first beseech to get the money you have taken for your goods.
Why is it hard for a Ugandan to go and work in Kenya? Why is it hard for a Ugandan who wants to study in Sudan or Kenya or Rwanda? Why is it hard that he has to pay more fees than the rest of the citizens in those countries? I believe that we need a true East Africa where we can have free access to market, where we can have free access to education.
Uganda has 9 slots in the EALA, out of which the ruling NRM has 6, and the other 3 slots will have to go to the opposition political parties represented in Parliament and independents. Sarah Nakandi, CTV, PM Edition.
The International Crimes Division sitting at Kololo in Kampala has set September 28th as a date when it will deliver its ruling on whether different case files in the murder and terrorism case against members of Parliament Alan Sewanyana and Mohamed Seginya and others can be consolidated. According to the members of Parliament's lawyers, it's not in order to have different case files, yet the charges are almost similar.
After spending a year in prison on charges of murder, attempted murder, and terrorism, Machindia West MP Alan Sewanyana and Kawempe North MP Mohamed Segirinya and their co-accused today reported back to the International Crimes Division for the pre-trial hearings. Friends, family members and supporters filled court to capacity. The MP's pre-trial faced a setback following transfer of Judge Jane Elizabeth Alviza to the Lands Division of the High Court in August. Judge Alviza was almost winding up the hearing of pre-trial arguments from prosecution and defense. Pre-trial is a crucial stage in criminal cases to confirm and determine charges. Judge Alice Komuhanji has since been appointed to handle the case. However, she has to educate herself with facts of the case. She told court that she has to deal with some 3 applications, including an application for bail that was filed by the 2 MPs. Judge Komuhanji is also dealing with an application for witness protection by prosecution in the MP's case and another application by lawyer Malema Bilizi that he wants court to halt the trial. Medard Lubega Segona, one of the MP's lawyer, urged that various charges against the MPs need to be consolidated.
To conventional criminal law, you'll find these are offenses, one, against the state, and offenses which involve violence. And as my learned friend submitted, the motive of the so-called terrorism, which is now a political offense, is murder to intimidate. So you're going to find that the serialization of activities as alleged in the charge sheets will connect the cases.
However, prosecution says consolidation in criminal matters doesn't exist in Ugandan laws. He told court that Segona's argument has no legal basis.
It is our prayer that this application is bad in law and should be struck out it should be struck out because it has no legal basis.
Earlier, prosecution led by Richard Birivumbuka confirmed that police investigation into the matter are complete. This was after lawyer Segona had asked prosecution to update court on the issue to enable the defense team to prepare for trial. Judge Komuhanji tasked prosecution and prisons department to also explain why one of the suspects, Jude Muonge, was before court, yet he was never formally committed by Masaka court. Defense lawyer Elias Rukwago highlighted a number of issues they disagree with prosecution.
We have argued that we need all the evidence before us before we can prepare the evidence we are going to rely on to put up our defense.
The 2 MPs' trouble started after a spate of murders in Greater Masaka region in 2021. Flavian Inkuze for CTV, PM Edition.
The Uganda Red Cross Society has today met with members of parliament to help find a lasting solution to the disasters that have rocked the nation the last couple of weeks. According to the legislators, there is need for increased preparedness in the country to help mitigate the effects of climate change.
Uganda is prone to disasters such as landslides, heavy rains, fires, among others. These disasters have on several occasions also led to loss of lives. Although the natural disasters have been a common occurrence, members of the Parliament on the Climate Change Committee believe there is more that needs to be done when it comes to disaster preparedness.
We know that Lake Victoria cannot rise 1 meter, even if it is the highest peak of rain. So why don't we put a barrier in the areas where when the water level rises and it affects our investment?
In a stakeholder engagement between the members of Parliament and the Red Cross Society held today, it was revealed that the lack of disaster management fund has worsened the situation. According to the Red Cross, the money that was allocated to them by Parliament has not been received.
You know, these donors, I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. When a disaster happens, for example, they'll say, go and make an assessment, go and write a proposal. All that takes time. And the people who are displaced are not going to wait for that process. So the government cushion is that then we are prepared for what we are going to discuss today, early action, timely decision making, mitigation, and when the disaster happens, we can be able to move in fast.
The legislators have also asked the Red Cross to come up with disaster preparedness measures.
Red Cross would come up with how they want
to avert or to reduce the occurrence of this disaster. That's when we can help more. Yeah, the money we can give, we can appropriate. Yes, it is for response. We know disaster is God's given sometimes.
This food you are giving out acts as first aid to the people. Why don't we plan that whenever we are going to the affected area, maybe we take something that can last longer and help people in the future to prevent floods.
While appearing before the committee, the Commissioner Disaster Management in the Office of the Prime Minister revealed government's intention to launch a disaster risk management plan.
We have restarted the process. In fact, we are continuing the process of having the National Disaster Preparedness and Management Bill, and definitely we shall be calling on to you because I believe that bill is going to solve a lot of these problems.
Legislators have accused government of not walking the talk when it comes to policy implementation.
The other day I saw the Minister of Finance, Mr. Chair, saying that investors can stay in wetlands, but other people can get out of wetlands. What a contradiction, Mr. Chair.
Let's give them money, enough money, adequate funding, and demand for proper action, proper information.
As the rainy season continues, fears continue to grip the people living in the Ogun region and Rwenzori region, which are prone to disasters. Safi, Mokele Baluku, and Ramson Muhiri, CTV, PM Edition.
Let's take a short break and we'll be right back with more news. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching CTV PM Edition with me, Agi Oase, and Isaac Luchamuzi in sign language. Now moving on, the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, has scoffed at Ugandans who want to mix politics and different culture norms, saying that they are the bad people who want to fail Uganda's economy. The Minister Kadaga, who launched the controversial Miss Kavi beauty pageant today, hit at politicians who are hell-bent on blocking festivals that promote tourism.
On Sunday, the controversial Nyege Nyege Festival finally came to an end at Intanda Falls, where it had been on for 3 days. The festival attracted over 12,000 people from different parts of the world who went on to spend millions of shillings. A week before the event, Parliament had come out to oppose the event on grounds that it promoted indecency, but the decision was later quashed by the executive arm of government. Just days after the event, First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, has today come out to praise the festival, saying it was a success.
So to get from Uganda to Busoga on the water, you get that 15 minutes when Mutuza is struggling in the traffic. Yes. She's still in Nkono, but you know, you have already on the Busoga side. All this is what was happening. Food, ovokoko, emamba, people ate. Chapati. Rolex became Mutual people. Rolex was a big thing. Yes. Because just eat Rolex, that's enough for the day. So, all these are low-hanging fruits. And we should support our communities, get this money. All the hotels in Jinja were full to capacity. Some homes had been converted for that period into hotels.
Rebecca Kadaga, who made these remarks while officiating at the launch of another controversial beauty pageant for big-bodied women known as Miss Kavi Uganda and African in Kampala, revealed that the pageant will be a great opportunity for women with big hips to showcase their intellect and also contribute to the Uganda's development.
You got the fragrance here about you. You then stop playing. You see, because I have to have your finger. You know, you go to a taxi, they say you pay for 3 seats. You know, they all these things, they all these things. So we want to normalize big, so that people know that yes, you can be small, you can also be big. Yeah, a person and should be given your rights.
Minister for State for Culture, Peace Mutuzo, who has also come out to back the event, says Ugandans should change their mindset about women.
The misconception and misconstructions of certain individuals. We have lost a number of young girls being forced into early marriages because all of a sudden, within their puberty, they have carved out their shape. And someone does not look at them as young, that should actualize their potential in education, but their parents have compelled them and forced them into marriage.
State Minister for Tourism, Martin Bahinduka Mugara, welcomed the move, saying that it will boost tourism by showcasing caviar's women and rich culture.
So it would be very unfair for us not to support the other side. I mean, it is only, yes, because it will be discriminatory in a way. So I can assure you we shall give the support.
Miss Kavi Uganda rose to prominence in 2019 when then the Minister for State for Tourism, Godfrey Chiwasubi, came out to announce the tournament, which sparked off outroar from feminists and activists who claimed that women had been objectified. The event, which will be held in November this year, returns after a 3-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Story compiled by Chris Semakula, CTV PM Edition.
For joining the Miss Kavi competition.
Now, moving on, the government of Uganda and Israel have signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Defense Cooperation aimed at renewing and strengthening the existing relation between Uganda and Rwanda on matters to do with defense security and welfare. The agreement was signed at the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs headquarters in Mbuya, Kampala.
Understanding
will continue seeing the Israeli government come out to support Uganda's socio-economic transformation agenda, adding that Israel has played a big role in building Uganda's air defense capabilities.
In the defense and the security sector, we have achieved a lot together in the last almost 3 decades. Israel has helped us to strengthen our different branches of the military, but more especially in the Air Force and air defense.
According to Rosette Bingoma, Israel has been supporting Uganda People's Defense Forces in training, provision of modern equipment, and availing opportunities for technological transfer to cope global threats like terrorism, cybercrime, and environmental changes.
Our infantry units have also benefited from your decades-long experience, both in training, supply of equipment, and technological transfer.
The head of delegation Sibat Asaf Divir thanked the Uganda government and UPDF leadership for pacifying the country and promised to commit to the existing historical relationship on defense and security cooperation.
Great opportunity for us again to come here and to put our relationship into a frame, but this MOU, which took us a bit of time, but that's behind us, and we are looking forward.
The Israeli government has always collaborated with UPDF in the field of training, intelligence collection, airspace management, and border protection, among others. Kevin Kasoma, CTV PM Edition.
The Minister of State for Primary Education, Joyce Moriku Kaduchu, has asked individuals and schools that engage in examination malpractices to stop the evil because it compromises the standards of Uganda's education. Kaduchu was speaking to various stakeholders in the education sector ahead of the primary and secondary level examinations in October and November this year.
As the cycle of year exams sets in, officials in the Ministry of Education are stuck on how the evil of examination malpractice can be uprooted from Uganda's education system. Inspectors of school at district, municipal and city levels, UNEB and other stakeholders in the education sector are meeting in Kampala to discuss how the evil can be stopped. Officials from several regions attended the meeting. The executive director of UNEB, Dan Odong, said school inspectors, especially at district level, are accountable for examination leakages.
That in a few of our districts, it appears to us at UNEB that the people in those districts, those few, seem to have taken examination malpractice as something normal.
The Minister of State for Primary Education, Joyce Moriku Kaduchu, says that individuals and schools that are planning to engage in the practice will be detected and punished.
Specific districts, really, the region. And this year, if they happen to do again examination malpractice, we will expose the schools and the districts. But if they do it again, thinking that is a usual pilgrimage going to UNEB, this time it will be a different story.
She also faulted inspectors of school who recruit supervisors and inspectors without carrying out due diligence to determine their character.
If you now go for somebody who can, I have a motorcycle, you recruit me so that I can deliver the material. Already you are getting compromised. That some of these people do not have integrity.
However, several school inspectors denied the accusation, saying all stakeholders are to blame.
UNEB packs materials. UNEB transports materials to the districts and municipalities and cities with the police, with UPDF, with several other agencies, including Office of the President. Because I have not seen this before, and we have not had an office authentication that it was the inspector doing that. If it were, then we would have evidence to prove.
And the scouts who are always involved in this are the UNEB examiners. So in some districts, UNEB examiners are not enough to meet the level of going to scout exams.
Other issues raised in the meeting included low funding to facilitate the exercise. The number of registered POE candidates has risen to 832,839 from 749,809 candidates last year. Exams always come during a rainy season, making it difficult to access some schools in areas that have a poor road network. Such conditions cause delays in the delivery of examination papers and sometimes create an enabling environment for crooks to engage in examination cheating. Primary leaving examinations will be held in November. Adams Mayambala, CTV, PM Edition.
In the regional news tonight, Nigeria is battling its worst floods in a decade with more than 300 people killed in 2022, including at least 20 this week, while the head of Chad's diplomacy has announced his resignation. We have more. Nigeria is battling its worst floods in a decade with more than 300 people killed in 2022, including at least 20 this week, authorities said on Monday, admitting the situation is beyond their control. The floods in 27 of Nigeria's 36 states and capital city have affected 500,000 people and displaced 100,000 others. The disaster has also destroyed thousands of hectares of farmland, worsening fears of a disruption of food supply in Africa's most populous country. Nigeria records flooding every year, often as a result of non-implementation of environmental guidelines and inadequate infrastructure. Authorities are blaming this year's floods on water overflowing from some local rivers, unusual rainfalls, and the release of excess water from Lando Dam in neighboring Cameroon's northern region. The Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency, or NEMA, predicted more floods in 2022 than last year due to excessive rainfalls and contributions from external flows, such as the dam in Cameroon. The head of Chad's diplomacy announced his resignation on Monday, accusing the ruling military junta of relegating him to the role of extra. The announcement comes in the middle of a laborious national reconciliation dialogue. Sharif Mahmat Zine was the main negotiator for the government in the long and painful negotiations that led to a peace agreement in Doha on the 8th of August with some 30 and out of 50 rebel movements. This pact enabled some of the armed groups to be involved in the National Inclusive and Sovereign Dialogue, which opened a month ago in N'Djamena and is supposed to lead to free and democratic elections. The letter is addressed to the young General Mahamat Idris Deby, self-proclaimed president of the republic, at the head of a transitional military council of 15 generals 17 months ago. As soon as the death of Idris Deby was announced, the junta dissolved the parliament, abrogated the constitution, and dismissed the government to appoint one a few months later. And elsewhere in the world, the UN has expressed alarm at Iranian authorities' response to protests sparked by the death in custody of a woman detained for breaking hijab laws, while Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said he believes Russia's leader is seeking an end to the war he began in Ukraine and that a significant step will be made. The UN has expressed alarm at Iranian authorities' response to protests sparked by the death in custody of a woman detained for breaking hijab laws. Human rights groups said 3 people were killed on Monday as security forces opened fire at men, women and children who took to the streets in Kurdistan province for a 4th day. Protests also took place in Tehran. The UN urged Iran's leaders to allow peaceful demonstrations and launch of impartial probe into the woman's death. Masa Amini, a 22-year-old ethnic Kurd from the western city of Saqqez, died in hospital on Friday after spending 3 days in a coma. She was with her brother in Tehran on Tuesday when she was arrested by morality police, who accused her of breaking the law requiring women to cover their hair with a hijab or a headscarf and their arms and legs with loose clothing. She fell into a coma shortly after collapsing at a detention center. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said he believes Russia's leader is seeking an end to the war he began in Ukraine and that a significant step will be made. He said his impression from recent talks with Vladimir Putin was that he wanted to end this as soon as possible. Ukraine has recaptured swathes of its territory this month. The Turkish leader indicated things were quite problematic for Russia. Mr. Erdogan spoke of having very extensive discussions with Mr. Putin at a summit in Uzbekistan last week. In an interview, the Turkish leader said he gained the impression that the Russian president wanted a speedy end to the war. He also said 200 hostages would soon be exchanged between the two sides. He gave no further detail of who would be included in such a prisoner swap. Mr. Erdogan has repeatedly sought to mediate during the war, promoting a balanced stance for NATO member Turkey while opposing Western sanctions on Russia. Let's take a short break and we'll be right back with more news from the world of sports. Do stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now moving on to the world of sports, Uganda under-23 men's national team, the Cobs, have resumed training after arriving in Benghazi ahead of the Tri-Nation tournament. Uganda will face Libya in their first game tomorrow as part of the preparations for the next month's AFCON under-23 qualifier clash against Guinea. We have the details.
The Uganda Cobs, who arrived in Benghazi, Libya, have resumed their training ahead of the Tri-Nation series. After two testimonial matches against Tony Maweje's select side, the Cobs will have to take on Libya on Wednesday and Tanzania on Saturday in the Tri-Nation tournament. National team head coach Milutin Micho Sredejovic has since announced a squad of 35 players, including 6 foreign-based players. He gives an update.
Practically 16 players. In Cairo, Kakoza joined us. We had 17. Last evening, we have been joined by Belagambi Josu, goalkeeper from Huddersfield, Musa Ramadan from Cincinnati from America, and Servada Steven from New York Red Bull. So now we are having 20 players in the squad. We had a very good training session last evening, acclimatization, adaptation and adjustment.
The Tri-Nation tournament will help Uganda prepare for next month's crucial AFCON qualifier against Guinea, with the first leg set to take place on the 23rd of October. Micho also reveals why midfielder Aziz Kayondo will not play in the Libya game, but says he will be available against Guinea next month.
To fly via Istanbul back and us to put the player in such a unbelievable torturing journey and to bring him back on Thursday, day after the match against Libya on Wednesday, is simply unfair. He will go back, and we know who is Abdulaziz Kayondo. is a reliable member of the senior squad of Uganda Cranes that will be the pillar of our team in qualifiers in October against Guinea.
Uganda managed to reach the finals of the African Cup in Rwanda last year but failed to qualify for the World Cup. Micho is confident that his team will pass the test this time round.
However, there is new chance for the international engagement for them. It is Olympic qualifiers, and we are very happy that we have selected in the squad of the most talented players that are supposed in more than 10 years to be together and to make a golden generation of Ugandan football.
Guinea will host the first leg of the Under-23 AFCON qualifiers on the 23rd of October in Conakry, with the return leg coming a week later in Chitende. If Uganda progresses to the third round, they will face either Nigeria or the winner between South Sudan and Tanzania in the final round of the AFCON 2023 qualifiers. Noah Walakira, CTV, PM Edition.
We've come to the end of CTV PM Edition. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Agi Oase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Have a good night.